one thing that kills me about doing this work is that every time there's a high profile killing of a black man or woman, my meetup group goes crazy, right? People are like trying to get in there, and then there'll be a dry spell. Somebody else will get killed, then they'll be back, or like there'll be like this election, and then people will come back, and it's so disheartening to see that there's no continuity there. It's just very reactionary,
Mhm.
and I guess it makes sense, right? Because people have been numb to the world around them and these ongoing what I would call atrocities in these various contexts happening in their very eyes, but it's still very frustrating and disheartening and um, something I want to change, you know?
There was a moment after the George Floyd killing that it looked like, enough people, some of whom had never taken interest before, had taken an interest and were demanding change. Millions of people marched in major cities across not only the streets in America, but across the world. And they were demanding change. And there was, for a moment, the people on the opposite side had no answer for it. And there was, weeks where, the message was, yes, we understand these things are going to have to change and we're going to make it happen. And that means things like qualified immunity and diverting resources from, police forces to mental health, related challenges. And it looked like something was going to happen. The John Lewis, or the bill that was passed by the House and sent to the Senate. And, Tim Scott was on the Republican side meant to negotiate it. And it looked like things were going to change, but they were
Did
able
he?
to take their
Did he go
time.
to negotiate it?
Well, I'm saying what they're saying. And no, because he believes America is not a racist country. At least he says so. But they were able to change the narrative. They were able to talk about defund the police and make that the issue. They were able to talk about Antifa and Black Lives Matter and make that the issue as opposed to, you know, Black people being killed on tape, 8 and 3/4 minutes with a knee on his neck. I can't breathe. None of that matters. They blame the victim. They found a way and eventually they changed the narrative to where, something happened, but it was something that didn't mean anything, which was Juneteenth holiday. They say, well, give them a holiday and they'll have something to celebrate and they'll forget about it. And unfortunately, that pretty much turned out to be true,
Yeah.
which is kind of follows the history of the Martin Luther King national holiday after the Watts riots.
Oh yeah. You know, Republicans are in it for the long haul, right? They've been trying to get rid of Roe v. Wade for 50
It took
years,
them 50 years, but they did it.
right? And
Then
so,
again, if you want to have hope, it took 100 years to get some of that civil rights and voter rights legislation passed, and eventually did, although the Supreme Court came back and weakened everything. And you have to remember that the Supreme Court is there to support rich, or they were founded to support rich, white, landowning people. And that's pretty much what they do now. That whole theory of originalism is to go back and protect the same people they always meant to protect. So they've reduced any value that came from civil rights or voting rights legislation to where it's meaningless. They got rid of all the enforcement powers of the Voting Rights Acts, and they find ways, even if they don't do it, all in one fell swoop. They gradually eat away and chip away and pick away till it's gone.
and that's what we need to learn to do. We need to learn to eat away and chip away and pick away until it's gone. And we don't have that kind of long term strategy on our side. That's the problem. That's why we can never, that's why we never, and everyone is hoping that Democrats will learn this. I'm like, Democrats are not interested in that. They don't want that. Forget about whether they can learn it or not. It's not what they want. It's not their intention. If we want a long-term strategy, it's going to have to be a grassroots movement that then becomes generational. And that's something that people are just not ready for. And unfortunately, I do think things are going to have to get a lot worse before people are ready for that.
Black Lives Matter, uh, as an organization, and after George Floyd and Michael Brown and some of the other incidents that preceded it, it reached also in a high level of favorability. They were getting donations, but they found a way to attack and just beat them down to make them easy enough to ignore. So you know they're worried about any financial misdoings that might have happened in Black Lives Matter without any concern about the people from the NRA, riding around on $1 million yachts and spending all that money.
Or Donald Trump paying a $25 million settlement just to become
Yeah.
president for fraud. Like, yeah, I mean, it's absurd.
And he's picking as the attorney general the woman he paid $25,000 to make a case go away in Florida against Trump University. Um,
Yeah. Well, it's an uphill battle, but I'm glad to have you taking care of that historical side of it. And thanks for sharing that with us tonight. Really appreciated hearing your thoughts on that. And thanks for just kind of giving me a chance to talk a little bit about what I'm trying to do and giving me your feedback. It's definitely going to give me a lot to think about for some time. So appreciate you, William. Thank you.
I'll be following along, and when you have those group panels, let me know. I'd be interested in following or participating as well.
Excellent. Thanks for watching. For access to the full-length conversation and all of the 2-hour long unedited conversations that I've had on race, click the support link in the description below. Thanks for your support and see you next time.